Hello, this is Professor Paul Gruhn for ICM590 Project Planning for Quinnipiac University. I'm here with a coworker and a good friend, Rick Smith at Yale University. Rick and I have worked together for a while. And if, if project management was in the Boy Scouts and Rick was working towards his Eagle Scout, he would have a sash going across his uniform with every possible merit badge and project management certification. Rick has got more awards and certifications and trophies in the area, so we're talking to somebody who not only has the academic and the historic and the the schooling of project management, but more important, he does it and he really understands the business. So the words that Rick is going to share with us, he knows his stuff. So listen to him carefully. He's a good friend and very knowledgeable in the area of project management. And we're going to be having actually several interviews over the semester with Rick and a couple of other coworkers that I have who are equally as knowledgeable here at Yale. Rick, first, tell us 2 seconds about yourself, what you're doing at Yale, a little bit about your background, just so people know that what I'm saying is true.
Okay, thanks for this opportunity to meet with your students. As I said, my name is Rick Smith. I'm the Director of Metrics and Quality Assurance here at Yale. I've been here at the university a little over 6 years. Prior to that, I have about 20 years of experience in the private sector in predominantly two areas, healthcare and in insurance. My background, basically, I have a master's in clinical psychology and a master's in healthcare administration. I'm a certified PMP project manager. I have a certification in Lean Six Sigma. I'm a master black belt certification in both those. And I'm also KT certified. That's Kemper Trago. That's root cause analysis and decision making. So as I said, I have a number of certificates and badges, to put on my chest here.
Great. And so if I'm going to walk in the dark alley, since you have that black belt, I'm going to bring you along since you're going to help keep me safe.
For sure.
So as we enter into the semester in our project planning class, first of all of our students are their project plan, their end deliverable is going to be a plan for their capstone project, which most of them will be implementing next semester. So it's going to be in the scope of basically their master's project, which I'm sure you're familiar with that concept.
Sure.
In our books and this is module number 1 for the teaching, project definition is the first chapter. Why are the books? Why is project definition the starting point?
Okay, and I'm going to cheat here a little bit because I got some questions prior to coming in, and I want to make sure, particularly on the first couple here, that I'm precise in the definition. Let me start off with by saying the first thing we have to do is define what is a project. Now, one definition, if you Google it, says that it's an individual or collaborative enterprise that is carefully planned and designed to achieve a particular aim, e.g., solves a problem, improves a process, or exploits an opportunity. The last part of that, the solves the problem, improves a process, and exploits an opportunity, is an add-on from me. And from my experience, I think that really makes the definition clearer. However, if you have aspirations for being PMP certified, you also need to know the definition as defined in PMBOK, or the Project Management Book of Knowledge.
And I'm going to make sure that the PMBOK reference is on our website because that pretty much is the project management Bible.
Yes.
I'll make sure I have that reference on our site.
Yeah. Now, for some of you that may want to look it up and want to see the definition, that's the PMBOK, that's the 5th edition, Chapter 1, Section 1.2, page 3. And it defines what is a project. And it states there that a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. The temporary nature of projects indicates that the project has a defined beginning and an end. Those are key points there, defined beginning and an end. The end is reached when the project achieves the objectives, and further, temporary does not typically apply to the product, service, or result created by the project. So again, think about it this way, that a project is a temporary, type of thing. It's not going to be ongoing. And once it's ended, the ongoing work to kind of maintain the service or the product becomes something else. It becomes operations at that point. It changes from being a project and converts over to being an operation.
So what I hear you saying, and especially in the context of the capstone work, the master's project work, some of our students may come up with some ideas that their project and their capstone may actually turn into something that's ongoing.
Yes.
But right now, what we have to do is talk about the implementation and set the boundaries for saying, I've got this idea, I have this capstone project, I'm going to start it now, but I'm going to end the work of creating it.
Yes.
And at that point, when I can call it done. It doesn't mean it goes away.
Correct.
If anything, it's going to go into a new phase.
Yes. A couple of other things that I think you should take note of that are key to defining a project. It says that what we understand from the above definitions that we talked about is that a project has really 6 key factors that it must meet. The first is that a project, again, as we talked about, has a definitive start first. It has a definitive end. The start and the end define the project life cycle. So again, if the question comes up, what's the life cycle of the project? It's from the initiation to the end. The project should start with a charter. Now, from a practical standpoint, even though this is in the definition and people who are certified go through the project management certification, once you get into really doing work, the charter as it's defined in PMBOK is seldom realized or really done properly. But it's so critical to the project. I couldn't stress enough, if there's one aspect of a project that can either make sure that it succeeds or it's derailed, it's the charter.
So I'd like to add, at Yale, all of our major projects, we do create a charter document. And that charter document always is the reference point to help us know the things we're going to do.
Exactly.
And to help us know the things we're not going to do. And it also introduces the key players, the key stakeholders, and the key objectives, the goals that we want to accomplish.
Yes.
Now, for our students in ICM 590, their project charter is actually going to be their plan that they're creating in this class.
Okay.
So part of one of their milestones for their capstone project is going to actually be creating the charter, which is actually creating this project plan, which will have the complete list and all. It might not be in a formalized document, but they'll be required to pull together everything in their workspace wiki along with a video and ultimately a PDF file that says, this is what I plan to do, and they're going to take the results of this work, which is their project charter, their plan, and carry that into the starting point of their capstone class in ICM 601.
Okay.
So this work that they're doing now, while it's the project plan, really ends up being that very important charter, which is going to define what they want to do.
Exactly.
Now the good news for them is they might, and in real life, is they might actually get to change this midstream, because that often happens. Now we have a formalized request where we do change requests and things like that. They're not going to do that.
Okay.
But at least they will know that their ideas that they create and deal with this semester in 590, they're not locked in stone. And no project ever is.
Right.
So one of the things that happens a lot is words like vision, purpose, goals, and objectives. They get tossed around a lot, and to me they can mean, when you say the word conservative or liberal, you can mean many different things
Yes.
to many different people. So terms like vision, purpose, goals, and objectives, how do you differentiate these terms?
Okay, and I think it is important to make sure that we have a clear definition. And these are mine, by the way. If you Google things and look them up, you'll find various definitions. But these are really based upon kind of my experience and kind of what I've seen and what I have done in establishing mission statements, vision statements, and goals for other corporations. But essentially, a vision is a clearly defined, has a, excuse me, a vision has a clearly defined end state. In other words, it's saying what you hope to achieve at the end. An example might be, and it's appropriate for this time period coming up, Martin Luther King, if you think about his speech, and he said, "I have a dream." And if you read that speech, and one of the kind of the seminal statements in it is where he says what he hopes the country will be at some point. And he goes into detail of saying what those things are, how people will be treated, how they will be perceived on merit, and these things. That's a vision.
So one of the first things that our students have to do is create in their wiki is their idea statement. And their idea is their vision. It's their dream. It may not be as lofty as Martin Luther King's, but it is still equally as important to have that.
Yeah. I think the key point in that too is that a vision can be measured if it's clearly articulated. If you say, this is what I want to have at this point in time,
You'll know what it's going to look like.
yeah, you can go back and you can measure, you can determine if it in fact has been achieved.
How about purpose, goals, and objectives?
Well, the purpose, I think, and let me backtrack for a moment. One of the other business axioms that I kind of live by in project management is if there is no clearly defined project or problem or opportunity, there is no project. And so let me state that one more time because that's really important. If there is no clearly identified problem or opportunity, there is no project. And the key there is that a project should be addressing one of those things. It should either be trying to address a clearly defined and measurable problem, or it is addressing an opportunity, which again should be clearly defined and measurable.
Right.
If you can't do that, you're not ready to start the project. If your charter can't clearly articulate that, you're not ready to start your project.
Right.
Now, purpose kind of is one of those words that's kind of interchanged, with that. Sometimes it's interchanged with objectives
Right.
or goals. Now, the way I think about it and the way I have done it is that a goal is an aspiration. A goal also, to a certain degree, can't be measured. It's like you aspire to be world class. But what is world class really? It's a concept.
And then the objective is the thing underneath that to get you there.
The objective could be the series of behaviors or measurable activities that, or metrics or results that you've identified, and you say, when I achieve these objectives, because they're highly associated with this goal, which is aspirational, I know that my project is successful.
Great. So we have about a minute and a half left, and I've got two things that I want you to try to wrap up quickly here. One is, so two questions tied up into one. We've got about a minute and a half. What are some examples of bad project definition? And can you give us a couple of good tips on how to think when creating a good project definition?
Okay, very quickly, and again, I've covered them to some degree already. If you cannot clearly define it and measure it, it's not a good charter, it's not a good purpose, it's not a good direction.
So if it's too abstract,
yes,
and you can't say, this is what I wanted to do, look at it, I did it,
exactly.
Then it's not a good definition statement.
Right. It's kind of, some of you may be aware of Yogi Berra, where he's one that said, if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there?
Absolutely. And how about some tips? We got 30 seconds left. What are your closing tips for our students?
Closing tips would be just 3 questions that are going to direct a good charter statement or definition. And that is, what's the problem or opportunity? It sounds very basic, but if you can't answer that, you're not ready to go into your project. The second question is, what happens if I take no action? because that's going to get to the ROI, or the return on the investment, or why you're doing this project in the first place. If nothing negative is going to happen, there's no consequence, or there's no positive consequence, why are you even doing the project in the first place? And the third would be, how will I determine success of my project? What are the metrics? How will I know if this project is successful at the end? So there will be no confusion. It'll be clear that the goals, objectives have been achieved, and the project is either a success or, hopefully not, a failure.
Great. Rick, I'm looking forward to other future interviews with you, and I'm sure our students will as well. We've definitely gone over time. I hope I can cut this into the right segments to get it on YouTube.
Sure.
But thank you very much.
All right,
Looking
you're welcome.
forward to some future stuff, and thank you.